Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Search Engine Journal webinar. It's a super hot day here in West Virginia where I'm based, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you all here with us. Today, we are joined by Madeline Wing of CallRail, and she's going to be sharing with us some insights from a recent survey that they did on 600 small businesses. So during Do This, Not That, your guide to successful marketing in 2021, you'll see how COVID impacted marketing and business performance over this last year or so. I remember during the recession in 2008, we saw similar happenings to what you all are going to see today, where businesses canceled all their marketing. And the ones who kept some level of marketing, even if it was on a much smaller scale, saw better return after the recession. So keep that in mind as you go through all of this, but it's all about staying top of mind. But today we're here to talk about some of the challenges of now here in 2021. My name is Heather Campbell, and I'll be your moderator today. Madeline, thank you for being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about you and CallRail before we get into some webinar housekeeping tips?
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. So hi, my name is Madeline Wing. I'm the Director of Partnerships here at CallRail. CallRail is a marketing analytics and business communications platform specifically tailored to businesses that rely on inbound phone calls. I have been with CallRail for 5.5 years. I've kind of worn a lot of different hats. I've been in customer success. I was in product marketing, now in partnerships, but I would just say my favorite part of my job has always been, getting to know our customers and helping them solve their marketing problems. So I'm hoping you guys can get some good takeaways from today, and I can kind of help you move along in that direction as well.
Great, thank you. So for all of our attendees out there today, if during the presentation you have any questions or comments, please put them in the questions box at the bottom of your screen. And as you're learning and taking in this for information, ask for further clarification, or if you have any questions, chances are you might not be the only one thinking it. So we're going to do our best to link to any resources or tools in the chat, but if we miss one, use that questions box to ask as well. And then after the webinar, please stick around for a short survey. It won't take any more than 5 minutes. This information helps us gauge what works and how we can make SEJ webinars more useful for you. And lastly, you will receive this full recording of the training later today. So that's enough for me. Without any further delay, let's get to it. Madeline, it's all yours.
Awesome, thank you. So as we've kind of already touched on, and I'm sure is no surprise to anyone here, 2020 was quite a year, and it really shook up the business world and eventually the marketing world as well, right? So we sent out, as Heather mentioned, a survey very, very recently to 600 small business owners, and we really just wanted to get their take on how things changed due to last year. Like, what are they doing to change their strategy this year to come out of maybe a hole that they found themselves in, or to continue to propel growth? Like, what happened to them over the last year, and what are they doing to fix that or continue to grow throughout the next year? So pretty standard, 600 small business owners in the US, like across all demographics, a lot of different industries. And so what did we find? So although SMBs experienced a 38% drop in revenue in 2020, 80% are reporting that their business is now fully recovered. That is great news. I think everyone should be excited about that. I hope if you're on the webinar today, you feel similarly about your business. I think that's definitely something we should all be happy and applaud. But of those that really feel like they've made it out, 80% believe that's because they had a marketing strategy. Their marketing strategy was critical to the success of their business during the pandemic. And 70% actually believe that their marketing strategy was what was critical to the survival of their business. So not just success, but actually what kept them afloat was having a really tailored, concrete strategy when it came to their marketing. And actually SMBs who didn't engage in any marketing or didn't have a marketing strategy reported a 5% greater drop in their annual revenue compared to the average in this overall group. So marketing, it's definitely, if it's not something you're focusing on, it's definitely something that can give you the confidence, but also the skills that you need to keep your business going. So all of that to say, what has been working, what's working, what are people going to double down on over the next year? So when it comes to marketing tactics and channels, we asked the 600 small business owners, what are they doing today? The big three heavy hitters, they're using social media. They all, about 50% have a website, and 43% are using email marketing. That's kind of the low hanging fruit that the majority are doing. What was really kind of shocking to us, down here are the bottom three actually. So a much smaller group actually using paid search and PPC, SEO and local search, and then that 6% are not even doing any marketing at all, right? So there's it's understandable, right? Social media can be so approachable these days. If you don't have a website, why don't you have a website? You might actually be using Facebook or Instagram or some sort of social media profile almost as your website. So those three aren't that surprising, but the bottom three, I think there's huge opportunity there. And if you haven't explored, paid search, SEO, local search, any of that, like that's definitely something you want to look into. But in terms of kind of, so marrying that data, so the companies that felt like they really thrived throughout 2020, 23% more likely to use social media, 56% more likely to actually gather customer reviews and testimonials, 70% more likely to use a CRM, and 108% more likely to use a marketing agency. So I think that goes to show you, right, as Adaina's kind of already pointed out, if you don't have a solid marketing strategy in place, you're kind of starting like already behind the starting line, right? You're already behind the rest of your peers. So kind of starting with just the lowest hanging fruit, even like social media, customer reviews, that's going to get you in a much better place. But the more advanced you get in your journey, things like using a CRM to actually manage your leads, actually bringing in an outside marketing agency to help you with your marketing, that's what's really going to help you thrive and feel really good if in any sort of economic downturn. So most small businesses who do have a marketing strategy, so about 36% feel like they can cover the next quarter. They have the next 3 months covered. 45% actually have it mapped 6 months down the line. So that's the more popular route, which I think makes sense, right? But only 16% feel like they have a strategy in place to cover the next year or longer. Not shocking here, I think, right? Obviously, small business owners wear so many different hats. It can be hard to find the time to do annual planning, but that can obviously go a long way in helping set your business up for success. And of those that have a marketing strategy or don't, so 77% plan to invest more time and energy into their marketing strategy. So regardless of whether or not they had one, people want to spend more time and focus there. They realize how important that is. But this is really interesting. Only 43% actually are going to invest more money. So the big chunk, 77%, know that they maybe need to educate themselves more and take the time to do more with marketing for their business, but only 43% are actually going to put the dollars behind that, which I think is really fascinating. So small business owners who say their business doesn't engage in any marketing activity, they were 125% more likely to feel like their business is destined to fail. They feel like they don't know how to generate new business. They don't know how to generate new leads. How are they going to keep themselves afloat? They don't know where the money's coming from. If you have a targeted marketing strategy, honestly, that's really just about having a really sound business strategy and understanding where your revenue is coming month over month. Like you have a plan to get yourself to where you want to go to. And so it's kind of no wonder that if you don't have that, you just don't feel confident in the future of your business. So having a marketing strategy, it's super crucial. And I think if you are either an in-house marketer or a small business, or you own a small business and are on this webinar today, that's like the biggest takeaway, is making sure you have something, pen to paper marketing strategy that's going to get you really far in 2021. So focusing kind of on what's working, but what about what's not working? So business owners are overwhelmed, right? This is kind of not new in the world of small business. most business owners are incredibly stressed out. They don't have enough time to do everything that they need to do every single day to run the business, which is probably why there's the chunk that don't have a marketing strategy, because the majority don't feel like they have the time to do it. And half of the SMB owners who don't have the marketing strategy in place, they actually still have no plans to develop one. And it's just because they're way too overwhelmed with running a business. I always love the term accidental entrepreneur. You probably went into business, right, wanting to do what you wanted to do, not marketing, unless maybe your small business is a marketing agency. But if it's not, marketing doesn't come easy to you, and it just takes way too much time to focus on it. But what's interesting enough is that about half of small business owners are doing all of their own marketing. They don't have an in-house marketer. They're not pairing with an agency, which I would say also, if you're on this webinar today and you are a marketing agency, that just kind of goes to show you how big of an opportunity there is here. So many small business owners need help, and they're not all getting it. About half of the market isn't. And since they're doing their own marketing, right? So small business owners who do their own marketing actually report spending 20 hours a week on handling marketing responsibilities. I'm sure they're working more than a 40-hour work week, but even if they're working, say, a 50 or 60, that's a third of your time on marketing when you want to be spending it doing something else. And about a quarter of those do-it-yourself marketers really aren't investing any money into software or tools to know that what they're working or what they're spending time and money on is actually working, which that's a whole other can of worms, right? Because if you're spending all this time and energy on Facebook, but you would get so much better, more valuable, high quality leads from like PPC advertising, like knowing that it's so critical to your success, but most people don't, right? And so kind of like I've already harped on, about 74% of small business owners who do their own marketing would rather spend their time doing something else. So business owners who are going alone, they're just getting burnt out. Their marketing, they're not sure that their marketing is effective. They don't think they're reporting on it properly. And so the question is, how can, if you are a small business owner, how can you actually kind of outsource that and look elsewhere and make your life easier? And maybe if you are a marketing agency on the call, how can you help them find that time and resources to devote to marketing and the money, honestly, and make their lives easier? If you can crack that code, that's what's going to make you an invaluable business partner, because that's just kind of the obvious solution here, I think, is outsourcing your marketing to a marketing agency. But a lot don't work with marketing agencies because of budgetary constraints. So 35% of the SMB owners who do their own marketing, they say they just don't have the budget to hire an outside agency, right? But they also don't feel confident that they would be able to get an ROI on hiring a marketing agency, which I think makes sense, right? You go in and you get that pitch from an agency, especially if you've never hired one before, but it's not always clear maybe what they're going to do for you or how it's going to show up for you in revenue, where it was worth spending all that money on an agency. I think the really, really good agencies are great at doing that, and it's invaluable if you can prove your ROI and the value that you bring to someone else's business. That's like the big code to crack. And it's still, this isn't anything new, I would say, but it's still ever apparent in the market that people just don't feel like they have the budget to spend, and they don't feel confident in their ROI. We actually found that a lot of small businesses have used an agency before, and they just don't any longer, right? So over half, 57%, got rid of their marketing agency during COVID. We saw that a lot in CallRail. So as head of partnerships, I work with a ton of our agency partners, and that was just the storyline of 2020 for sure, right? Was just clients kind of leaving left and right with certain agencies because they didn't have the budget any longer. They felt like they were going to go under. But actually, there's also about a third, another chunk, that have that same budgetary strain unrelated to COVID-19, which is interesting. But I think the really, really good marketing agencies, and if you're an agency on this webinar, like another big takeaway for you is, how do you become that invaluable business partner where when the budget kind of starts to get messy, it's like a no-brainer that they're still going to keep you on the bottom line because you bring so much value outside of just like throwing leads over the fence to them, right? So there's a lot of good news in what we found for agencies. When asked if the small business owners would use a marketing agency again in the future, most said yes, right? So that's, almost 90% said they are likely to do so, whether it's somewhat or highly likely. Only 7% said, no, I'm probably not going to go that route again. So they're definitely still interested in working with you. And we actually found that small business owners who do employ a marketing agency are 20% less likely than average to say that the pandemic negatively impacted their business. So actually that 80% of respondents, regardless of whether or not they are still using a marketing agency, whenever they were using a marketing agency, they saw a significant increase in leads by partnering with a marketing agency. So I think if you are working in a small business right now and you're trying to figure out like what are my next best steps for the back half of this year to hit my goals, and you feel like you're kind of sinking under the pressure right now, an agency is definitely there to help solve that, and it can give you the confidence that you need to know you're going to do that. And actually, of our study participants who still have their marketing agency, who kept their marketing agency, 100% said the investment has paid off. Not a single one rated their business as ineffective when it comes to generating new leads, right? So I think it kind of goes to show that the agencies that prove their worth, prove their ROI, that they are more than just lead and marketing people, they're strategic business partners. Those are the ones that kept their clients over the last year, and their clients felt so confident and happy in that decision, and that the investment paid off, and that they weathered the storm of the last year, and they've come out of it on top, still doing great, and that kind of goes to show their partnership. So I think, yeah, if you're a small business owner that's been burned by agencies in the past, like the good news is there's good ones out there, and that's who you need to find, and that's who you want to work with. SMB owners who employ a marketing agency actually report on average 13 more new leads per week than those who do their own marketing, and actually 21 more per week than those who have an internal role filled, which I don't think means if you have an internal marketer on staff today, you need to like fire them and go hire a marketing agency. Absolutely not. I think if anything, you can have those two things work in tandem and have your internal marketing person manage the marketing agency, and you'll see even more fruits of your labor. So yeah, what is really the opportunity moving forward? So agencies and SMBs can partner more strategically, and in terms of putting your plan together for 2021, what do you want to focus on? So the top 3 complaints from small business owners when it comes to their previous marketing agency, if they were unhappy with them, they felt like the agency was not capable of providing additional assistance beyond lead generation. So once again, you want to be a strategic business partner, and if you're someone in-house or at a small business that's shopping around for an agency, I mean, sometimes you do just need lead gen, right? And so you just go that route, but you finding someone that really wants to get your business, your market, and can support you in more ways than just one, that's really like a great route to go. The agency, because a lot of them think their agency wasn't a strategic business partner. And then last bit, the program did not feel customized to their brand. So I think if you're an agency, even if you have maybe some one size fits all packages, how can you make that feel like it is more tailored and a unique experience with every single business that you're working with? In terms of the SMBs who kept their agencies, why do they love them? We thought this was super interesting. Number one reason is because they help improve customer service. So it wasn't, oh, they helped improve, like they didn't generate a positive ROI, they sent me 1 million leads. No, it was because they actually helped our customer service and my brand and my business look better. Another good one, reviewing analytics with me at a regular cadence. This is another great takeaway, I think, on both sides of the fence. If you're a small business owner and you're working with an agency or you're thinking about it, you want someone that's going to explain the numbers to you. Once again, as a strategic business partner. And on the other side, if you're an agency and you think, oh, my client just won't get it, they want you to teach them, they want you to show them. And it doesn't mean that they're going to get rid of you once they get it. No, because if you're still providing such good value, they'll think so highly of you for kind of walking them through that. SMB owners want their agencies to provide more value. There is a lot of great data around what agencies can be doing for SMBs that they're not today. So 96% of SMBs said they'd be willing to pay an agency for additional services outside of just marketing. So things like customer service, sales training, brand coaching. Once again, being that strategic business partner and consultant, and not just so focused on, you know, all I do is run PPC and here's all the leads I generated for you. That's it. Like, I think if you could show them like, hey, you're paying me to do PPC and I generated all these leads for you, but I noticed like your missed call rate, your receptionist didn't pick up and speak to any of those leads. So all that money kind of went down the trash. Let's talk about it. That's what they're looking for. And they're honestly willing to pay for it, which I think is great. And SMBs who worked with agencies previously, they wish their agency had helped them improve customer service. As we've seen, that's a big one. Recommend new technologies. I think a lot of times agencies can be nervous to recommend a new tool to their client because it's like, oh, I'm asking them to spend more money, but they want you to do that. They want you to tell them what's in the market, what's going to make their business better. And then also just improving the workflow. So you're not just on the marketing side of the house, making sure you're also integrated on the marketing sales side of the house. You're refining their value prop. So you're helping them with their whole business and what their go-to-market strategy is. And then just making sure that the business understands where the leads are coming from and how they're following up with them, anything you can do there to help. So SMB owners are looking for consultative partners who understand their business. They want to improve operations, not just marketing metrics and numbers. So what's next really for SMB owners? I think we already talked about this. So they're going to invest time and money in improving their current website. So I think there was a lot of desire to do that, improving lead generation, and then also, I thought this was great, expanding outreach into new channels, 38%. So I think if you are a small business owner, I actually would have loved if we ran a poll here. I'd love to know if this all lines up with what you're looking to do. And then also, if you're an agency on this webinar, you work in an agency, this is kind of, I think you can kind of see here what they want help with and what they want to do this back half of the year. So you can see all the data that we covered in this report. There's a lot more gems than what I just covered today in the last 20 minutes. So if you go to callrail.com, it's under the resources section in our content hub. It's called Clients Tell All, What Small Businesses Need from Marketing Agencies Today. Go download that, and I think we're going to send that along as well. But the three big takeaways from all the data from our survey that we looked at: businesses who have a marketing strategy and are focused on, digital strategies, they feel more confident in their ability to succeed at like keeping their business afloat, managing any economic downturns. They feel confident they can do that because they have pen to paper on what's going to get them through that with marketing and sales, right? Small businesses and agencies are a perfect match. And I think small businesses that have been burned in the past maybe might want to revisit working with an agency, just because at the end of the day, outsourcing and taking that load of marketing off of their plate, and even hiring someone internally that can then also like help with that, it's just going to make their lives so much easier. And if you're an agency, figuring out like some of the data that we showed, how you can plug in better as a more strategic partner is crucial. So, and I think as more and more businesses learn how important having a marketing strategy is and what they need to be working on and increase that investment, making sure that you are helping them focus on the channels and campaigns that are most effective to maximize the investment, right? So figuring out what's working, what's not working, and putting efforts where they need to be, all your time and energy. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. Yeah, and I'm ready for questions.
Awesome, Madeline, that was a great presentation, full of all kinds of great insight and details. We definitely have some questions. So Crystal asked, Hold on 1 second, sorry, too many screens. What if you're a small business owner and you don't have a marketing strategy and you don't really know where to start? What if you don't have the manpower? So, knowing, she's the perfect case, right? How would you help her just get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, you're already on a webinar like this, educating yourself with a great thought leader like Search Engine Journal. That is honestly a great place to start. But I think kind of a key takeaway here maybe is reaching out to some local marketing consultants or agencies in your area. You don't have to go like all in spending, you know, so much money, like your whole budget, like from the gate. Like they can help kind of guide you. Like a good marketing agency will tailor to your budget and what you need help with, and get you going that way. Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. And then also kind of, you saw where the data was, right? Starting even with just like social media, making sure your Google My Business account is all set up, good to go. You're bringing in reviews, things like that. I think those are the two lowest hanging fruit, that things that you could do yourself right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So what about some like non-digital marketing? I mean, is there, what about the value of like direct mail or billboards, especially if they're like looking for local business? I know that that didn't come up in the survey, but what's your take on those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that direct mail is a great place to start. Obviously, some of the challenge there is measuring ROI on that. CallRail can help with that, because we can actually track phone calls from the direct mail. But yeah, definitely anything with direct mail, billboards, if you have any local like magazines or anything like that. Like I know House Call, or not House Call Pro, Home Mag. That's a great one. I personally get like as a consumer, right? If you're in the home services space, like I definitely think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, and then I mean to that point would be like industry related directories, right? To make sure that they're listed in those as well. So I think that that's a great point. So you touched on, using an agency for customer service. Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I think people might not be making that connection, right? Because that's not something you typically hear. Like, why would I bring, like a digital agency in for the customer service side of things? So can you kind of elaborate there?
Yeah, so this is kind of the way I always think about it, and like particularly the way I see it at CallRail. So for example, so yeah, we work with businesses in a lot of different industries that rely on inbound phone calls, right? That's kind of our bread and butter. So one thing that we've seen a lot of marketing agencies do for their clients is they're not only tracking, okay, all of these phone calls came from this marketing ad and this one came from the billboard and the different sources, they're actually also recording the phone calls, and they're listening to them. And I think it kind of started as we'll listen to the calls to understand, what marketing is working and what's not. We can go optimize. But what you'll find a lot of the times when you listen to the call recording is a receptionist that wasn't trained properly and is not saying what you need them to say on the phone. Sales people that are, yeah, just like dropping really, really hot leads. Like it's really easy to find that sort of stuff and the coaching opportunities for someone's team. And so a lot of our really, really good agency partners will take those call recordings, they review them weekly, monthly, et cetera, and those actually get handed to the client in the report, along with how all of their marketing spend is doing across all of the various channels, and kind of showing to them like, hey, maybe you need to go train this person, or here's a great opportunity here. I actually found your hold times are like through the roof, or your missed call rate is not great. Because those are all areas where, as a small business owner, you might not think to be honing in and reporting on every single day, but those really do have an impact, right? Like there's so much data out there that shows that the faster you can get in touch with the business, the more likely you are to purchase from them. And I know I've experienced that as a consumer so many times, right? You call somebody, if they don't get back to you, you're like, well, I have this problem I need to solve. I'm going elsewhere. So agencies actually do hold the key to a lot of that data, and probably a lot more than even they realize sometimes. And so being able to surface that for the small business owner, like that's what I think really, really strengthens that relationship and can make them almost invaluable for your business.
That's a great point. And one of the other benefits of call listening is it's a great place to gather like frequently asked questions. So that if you have like a chat bot or if you're using any type of AI to answer some of those, chat questions, it's a great way to start thinking about the pieces that you can put in on that automated answering side.
Yeah, and that's a great point too. I think like you have to think about every single way that a customer comes to you, and it's not just when someone is like in your storefront or if you are like on site performing the services. It is the chat bot, it's your form fills and how quickly you get back to those and what you say in the email, it's the answering the phone calls, like all of that goes into it. So
Yeah, I mean, there's 12 touch points before they'll usually reach out to you. So you want to
yeah.
make sure that you're answering any questions that they have along that funnel, right? So let's see. So we got another question from Aries, and it's a business owner might be willing to spend money on more marketing. However, was there a way to determine if they expect full service consulting for pennies on the dollar, or did you get the vibe that they're willing to accept a fair price? Meaning like, are they looking for the cheapest option or for the most expensive? I think is what we're looking for there.
So we didn't ask that specifically in the survey, like what price points or what services they would be looking to spend money on. I mean, I would think generally, like this is another thing too that I kind of see it play out. Like I see it on both sides. Yeah, obviously agencies, like you guys should pay what you're worth, fair market value. I think it's just maybe small business owners that have either been burned in the past with agencies or have never worked with an agency before are gonna need that education level on this is why this costs this much sort of a thing. And I do think just being as transparent as possible about what you're going to do for their business and everything that kind of bakes into that, like that's something that someone can appreciate and I think be willing to spend on.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to look at it. So I know that you guys do work with a lot of agencies. So Peter's asking, what is the best way to choose an external agency to work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So at CallRail, we do have an agency partner program. We have a partner directory. Depending on what you're looking for, that could be a good place to start. But the way that we kind of filter our partner directory for small businesses looking for agencies to partner with is based on services. So if you know, like you're interested in redoing your website or PPC or SEO, like honestly, just starting with that is a good place to start. And also any like if you're not using CallRail, if there's any other tools that you're using, like if you're using anything like HubSpot or anything like that, they also, a lot of other marketing tools have robust agency partner communities. And that's just a great place to start because that's someone that will understand the ecosystem of what you are already working with today. And they're kind of already vetted as certified great partners. So I would start there with like a partner directory with a tool that you're already using if that works for you. Otherwise, I would say like going local is also great, especially if you yourself are a local business partnering with a marketing agency. So even just a quick search, right? Like Atlanta small business, etc. Or even in your industry, we find so many of our agency partners are very, very industry focused, which is great. So yeah, so once again, going back to like the home services example, I think you could, if you're in the home services industry, there is definitely a home services targeted agency in your area. And I think that that's probably what you want to find and go with because they will just understand your business model implicitly and your local area and maybe some nuance there. And I think that's really helpful.
So let's say they've chosen an agency. So Crystal's asking, what's a good time frame to see if things work or not? When do you decide if the agency is effective? When do you keep them or, get rid of them? So, how do you go about judging their effectiveness?
I think that that is a conversation you should be comfortable having up front, honestly. Like asking that question to your agency when you're in the buying process, like, hey, when can I expect results? Because like, I don't think it's fair, for example, for me right now to tell you like, oh yeah, in 1 month, you should see your leads triple in 1 month. Like, it depends on the project and what they're doing for you. But a good marketing agency that wants to be a valued partner is not just going to run you around and like talk in circles and not tell you. They're like, for example, if you're hiring them to help with SEO, like SEO is a long game, right? So they should be able to educate you and be upfront with, hey, we're building out this content to help you rank for Google for these words. That's going to take like 3 to 4 months. Here's how I'm going to track it and keep you informed of how we're doing there. You should be able to have very open, transparent conversations like that, and you should expect the answers you're looking for. I would not be afraid to ask that. Because yeah, I think it kind of depends. I would say like maybe sometimes people don't give their agency enough time to prove value, or maybe too much time, but it's because there was no expectation set from the jump of this is what I should expect and when I should expect it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And any agency that tells you they're going to make you #1 on the Google search results, like in, you know, this amount of time, we don't necessarily want to talk to those ones. So
Yeah.
be careful who you do choose.
Yes. Yeah.
So Tyler's asking, you know, so regarding the small business, the main concentrations there, you know, outreach to new channels, earned media, establishing authority in the industry space. If you had to, you know, pick where you would start that concentration if you're just getting started, you know, what would you recommend? Again, those were outreach to new channels, earned media, or establishing authority in the space.
So outreach via new channels or authority in the space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would probably go more on the channel side. I think once again, it depends on your industry specifically. That's kind of, and your buyer, if that makes sense. If you're in a really, really niche market, then maybe being the authority in the space is the way to go. But I don't know, if you are one of like many in your area, it might just be how can I get to as many people as possible first, if that makes sense.
I think with that, and Tyler, I'll kind of add to that, Madeline, if you don't mind, but I think to that point, you've got to look at your goals, right? Outreach to new channels can be quick wins because you're getting in front of new people. So if you've got the right messaging and it's the right audience, you can get some quick wins there. But if you're looking to establish authority, that's going to take time. You know, that's like your SEO play. That's where, you know, you're going to have to do, you know, outreach to influencers and all of that. So I think it just depends on what your goals there are, Tyler. Angelica has asked, if you are just starting and you don't have enough resources to hire a marketing agency, so basically you're doing it on your own, you know, where would you recommend that they start?
I think we answered some of this a little bit earlier, but I think like the best place to start, if you don't have the resources to hire a marketing agency, you're new to figuring out your marketing strategy. I think we saw first off, like actually documenting a marketing strategy, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just saying like, I know I want to do these 5 things over the next 3 months. Like that's pretty important. And those 5 things could be building a website, setting up all your social profiles, getting X number of reviews on Google or Yelp or etc. Like just doing things like that. I think having a plan is probably the most important part. But yeah, some of the lowest hanging fruit, what it looks like most SMBs are investing time and energy in, is social media, customer reviews, and testimonials. Anything you can do there, like I think that's super, super important for getting you to show up, do well in search. Yeah, and also, oh, I'm like drawing a blank right now on what the third one was, but I do think those 2 are great places to start, social media and reviews.
Perfect. Yeah, especially if you're local, right? And that Google My Business, I think was that third one. So
Yeah.
if, you know, if as a small business, and this is another question from Tyler, if we just hired one person internally for basically digital marketing, SEO, paid content, is there an agency relationship or position within the agency that could act as a consultant? So basically we have somebody in-house who can execute. can we hire an agency to help basically with the strategy and how that in-house person would then execute the campaigns?
Yes, you can definitely find agencies to help with that. I think that's kind of, yeah, what a lot of agencies, right, will have out of the box packages that for you to kind of peruse and use their services, but some of them will certainly tailor to you in the sense of if you're like, hey, I don't have the budget for this full, end-to-end marketing management package. We're just looking for some help, maybe an audit or something like that. Definitely an agency can help you audit and kind of be your strategic business consultant along the way. That being said, I think it's just making sure, once again, to manage expectations of that from the jump. But yeah, you can certainly hire an agency to help with that.
Awesome. So one of the questions, when during the pandemic was this survey taken? How recent is it?
So actually, this survey was just sent out it was like the end of May, early June, and we just got results back at the beginning of July. So very, very, very recent.
Awesome. So this is a good question. And this one came from Christina. So she's asking, she says, my agency keeps trying to push more media and paid social. So basically wanting them to invest more dollars on the paid side of things. And so what she's asking is, what is a typical ad spend and where should most of the money go? So I know it's difficult to answer what's a typical ad spend because it all depends on the budget and the return, on ad spend and all of that. But, if you have an agency that's constantly asking for more money, how would you go about assessing whether that's the right path for you?
Yes. So this is actually something I feel very strongly and passionate about, is that client agency transparency. A lot of our best agency partners, like they're very, very open in their reporting of like, this is where your leads are coming from. We spent this money on this, and this is what you got out of it. And so therefore, when they're asking you, hey, we want more money to spend on paid social or something like that, it's very, very clear why, right? Because they can kind of walk you through the whole story of like, hey, we shifted some of your dollars here and we saw a really, really great return. So let's shift like the majority of dollars here and you're going to see an even bigger return. They should be able to kind of walk you through why they need the money and where it's going, and what they're spending it on. Yeah, I just think, once again, you should feel comfortable asking them that, like, why do you need more money from me? What am I going to get out of it? And they should be able to give you a pretty clear answer of what they expect you will get out of it, and setting those expectations. So once again, if you end up giving them the extra budget and they fall short of it, like that's a pretty easy conversation to have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, Crystal, you should come to more of our webinars because you ask a lot of really good questions. So we've got another good one from Crystal. She's asking, and I think this is a great question. She's like, when you talk about social media, Madeline, can you give some examples on what you should be doing? And one of the things maybe you can help our viewers today kind of look at is how we'll take that like one step farther. So what should you be doing on social, but then how can you also tie call tracking into your social strategy so that you can make sure that you're getting, that in the investment in, you're getting the return out of it?
Yeah, so I think in terms of what you should be doing on social, it definitely has to, I hate this kind of vague answer, but it definitely has to do with your buyer and where they're located and what industry you're in. If you're in local, like I would say definitely, bare minimum is just making sure like you have, for example, your Facebook profile is fully set up, the address is correct, the phone number is correct, like everything is consistent and good. You have the description filled out, you have pictures, you have reviews, it's active, like just things like that to keep things healthy and good. That's like a great place to start. That being said, if most of your, depending on your business, isn't coming to Facebook, like don't spend time and energy on Facebook or any other social listing where you're not getting a ton out of it, right? You want to go where your audience is. In terms of integrating call tracking into your social, so yeah, getting the phone number right. So if you're using CallRail or something like CallRail. So you can actually provision phone numbers from us for marketing tracking purposes. And so we could provision a phone number for Facebook. We actually have a Google My Business integration, so you can put a tracking number on the Google My Business listing. And basically the moral of the story there is anytime anyone calls off of your Facebook, just like listing generally, if you're using like click to call ads in Facebook, anything like that, we can put numbers there and we can track and we can actually tell you, hey, most of your calls are coming from direct visits on the website, or they're coming from the click-throughs on Instagram, or they're coming from Google My Business, etc. And you can kind of get a lay of the land for where you need to spend your time and energy, because I think it can be really, really overwhelming, especially as a small business owner trying to do this by yourself. Like there's so many different channels and so much stuff you could be doing, and you only have so much time and energy. Spend it like where it's really, really paying off and where it matters. So find out what's working and what's not. And that's something that CallRail and call tracking generally can help you with if phone calls are really important to your business.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So, so we've got about a little less than 15 minutes left. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to shoot them over. We have another one from Eric, and he's asking if you've got some kind of a template or guidelines on the audit that the agency should be looking at. So, if they're going out to look for agencies, is there something, is there a basis of something you have that they could use and say, hey, this is what we're looking for?
I think we actually have a template that we have built for agencies to kind of help with that. I need to kind of get back, but if I have it and we can find it, maybe I can make sure we can like get that sent out somehow, or I can definitely follow up with you directly, Eric. But I don't know that I have anything off the top of my head that I can think of.
Perfect. Well, let's see. Oh, I think we're about out of questions, Madeline. I mean, this was a great webinar, and I think that it was a lot of really good insight. Anytime that, we as marketers can get our hands on first-party data, we're always all over that, right? So we've got some time. Why don't you take a few minutes and, kind of close this out and let us know, what CallRail does and how you can help those who are attending our webinar today.
Yeah, absolutely. So CallRail is a marketing analytics and business communications platform, but really our bread and butter is call tracking. So, I've talked a lot about figure out what's working and what's not working. Call tracking helps you pinpoint your most effective marketing efforts. That's what we do. And we do that with dynamic number insertion. So you are able to purchase phone numbers from CallRail. We can swap those out on the website, show a different number to different visitors, and with that information we can actually tell you where the visitor came from, including the marketing channel, what landing page they're on your website, what page they actually pick up the phone and call from, what PPC ad, including what keyword they search to actually get to your site and then pick up the phone and call. We can give you all that information, and we actually marry it into a really, really nice visitor timeline view. We also are able to track offline marketing. So we were talking about direct ads, billboards, that sort of thing earlier. You can also provision phone numbers from CallRail to help with that and to track your offline efforts as well. So focusing on calls and call tracking in general, we have local and toll-free numbers. So whether or not you are local to an area, you want to maintain that appearance, or if you want to look local, maybe to an adjacent area that you service, but you're not local to, we can help with that. And then toll-free, if you are a national brand or anything like that. And then also we do integrate with Google Analytics, Google Ads, Google My Business, HubSpot, Salesforce, Facebook, pretty much all the heavy hitters. We have over 20 out of the box integration. So we can pull this call data into anywhere that you are currently doing any sort of reporting or analytics. Yeah, so that's pretty much the spiel.
Great. No, thank you. So, I think again, it's been a great show, and thank you for being here with us today. To all of our attendees, again, you'll get the recording in just a few hours, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. and expect to follow up with any of the questions. That way you guys have a copy of that as well. And we're going to ask you one more time, just please stick around for a short survey. It won't take any more than 5 minutes, and it helps us improve our webinars overall. So with that, we bid you farewell until next time. Madeline, CallRail gang, thanks for being with us again today. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.